world's upside down right now.
Where do we start?
So because this is a Marvel project, there's not a ton of like super specifics about what we're going to get with the show. But I know that in part it deals with what it means for Sam Wilson, the Falcon, I guess, if you will, to be handed the sort of Captain America shield, the moniker, in a country that's still fighting racism daily. You know, from what I've seen, there's sort of like a bit of a roundabout path to how he becomes sort of this next step for him. But can you talk to me about sort of how the show deals with the social realities of life in post-blip Marvel America, and then as well as like real America?
The best thing that could have happened to this show was us being shut down, because we knew from the beginning of doing this project, we wanted to make something that felt super, super relevant. And we wanted conflicts and characters and stories and sub-stories and themes, all of that to feel very much of today and of now, right? Even before we got shut down. We knew that the spirit of post-blip, with half the world's population suddenly appearing after 5 years, has spun everything into chaos. And in the Marvel universe, every single living being is dealing with the same problem, right? Then we get shut down by a global pandemic that is forcing every single living being on this planet, rich or poor, to deal with the same problem. And since we'd already staged that in the Marvel universe, in our project, from the Marvel universe, it was an opportunity for us to create connectivity and I would say subtly mirror our two realities. And yeah, the issues on, listen, Sam is a Black man. And as we go home with him, you see he's really from the struggle. And so there's no way he could just in good faith take on that symbol, because it means something very different in his hands than it does Steve Rogers.
Watching it, there are moments when you're like, oh shit, like these guys have been through a lot. Like everyone has been through a lot. And thinking about the realities of like, okay, half the population disappeared. No one kept up their apartments. Or no one, how do you vouch for someone that hasn't worked in 5 years? Or thinking about Bucky, like being a killer for 70 years, like he's got some shit to work through. There's a lot going on.
It's interesting. Like that was for the Bucky character. It was so obvious what we were going to have to tackle. That was almost a treat, because this dude has not been in his right mind for almost 100 years. A, he's 100. B, he's 106 years old, which means he does not fit into this era and never had an opportunity to fit into any other era because he was being manipulated. But obviously, first and foremost, the volume of people he's killed, including, people in Stark's family. And we have this line in the series where I can't remember if it's in the first episode, but somewhere in the series, he says, when someone's trying to make the excuse, well, you were being manipulated, you had no way of knowing. He said, no, I remember everyone, which means he believes a part of him was there and present. And if that's the case, isn't he the monster that Hydra made him out to be? So yeah, he's got a lot to deal with. And as you see, we brought it into his face in a very, very personal and direct way.
I mean, with that being said, there's a lot coming out of WandaVision. People are like, how does this set the stage for the next thing? How does this set, people are trying to put these puzzle pieces together, which is a hard thing to do because, these phases are long-term, years, things long. But sort of, how do you think that this show pushes things like we left Endgame, now we're here? Like, how do you think that the show moves things forward a little bit?
Well, I think the first thing it does is it directly references the state of being of Endgame, not anecdotally, but as the defining thing on the planet. You know what I'm saying? It defines every single villain in this show is reacting to what happened post-blip. And every single hero is dealing with personal stories that are affected by this blip. You know what I'm saying? And so I think it just sort of, this is going to be a terrible metaphor, Mara, but
I love it.
It's almost like Thanos left the dinner table a mess, and this series is about to clean off the dinner table.
So beyond just Falcon and Winter Soldier, you also got to use some characters from previous sort of Marvel table setting for you, like Sharon Carter and Zemo and a few unnamed others. Who are you sort of most excited as a writer to like have back and sort of figure out?
I gotta tell you, I'll tell you who surprised me the most, which was Zemo, in that how human he became in the series. But the character that turned into the most fun was Sharon Carter, because Emily has such a baby face, you know what I'm saying? And looks very sweet and innocent. But Sharon Carter is gonna emerge as a badass. Like, I'd have to use far more inappropriate language to describe how awesome she is. You know what I'm saying? Let's just say this: Sharon Carter is all grown up now. You know what I'm saying? And as we discussed, I guess what made it so fun was we started at Civil War, and you just factor in what would have naturally happened between Civil War and now you got a whole different Sharon Carter showing up.
The show has been billed, in sort of like featurettes and stuff. They'll sort of talk about like, oh, this is a buddy comedy, like this is a buddy action movie, blah, blah, blah. Did you guys watch anything in reference? Like the writers room or you in specific?
100%. So we knew on the buddy cop spectrum of tone, you have at the most dramatic Defiant Ones on one end, and on the most comedic on the other end, Rush Hour and Ride Along. And we didn't want to be in either one of those places. As you get to 48 Hours and then Lethal Weapons and then Bad Boys 1, Lethal Weapon and Bad Boys 1 was the area we decided we wanted to play in, because what that genre is able to do is take on real issues, but deliver them in a way that's muscular and fun. They never get bogged down, but they also don't have to shy away from the real. So that would be, I'd say Lethal Weapon, Bad Boys 1 with a little bit of 48 Hours, but not quite that dark and edgy.
In some ways, the Avengers are quote unquote law enforcement, like they are enforcing laws. In other ways, they're sort of like the best version of law enforcement. And what we're seeing in the show, in part, is like sort of when many hands get involved, that shit gets mucked up. How do you sort of view the line of like where superheroes are in terms of being the protectors of what's right and what's wrong?
It's funny. I mean, the Zemo character is going to lend a lot of voice to that. And you can see what he thinks of it. And obviously, all of us are sort of channeled through him a little bit, in that Zemo sees all of them as supremacists. And he thinks that people who are endowed with abilities that are extraordinary, like law enforcement, or in this case, heroes, right, are inherently going to abuse their power. And he has damn good reason to think that. You know what I'm saying? They destroyed his country by using his city as a bomb and killed his entire family along with everyone, he knew. So Zemo sees himself as a hero in this series. And we wanted him to be able to speak to his motivation in a way that even the audience and sometimes the heroes themselves have to nod their head and be like, he's right.
That little girl kicked your ass. Aye. Gotta get that first shot up before that.